Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to Few Orleans, and Happy New Year! Happy New Year to you all. I hope you had a wonderful festive period, no matter what you were celebrating or if you weren't, or I hope you all just had a lovely time with your loved ones. But we're back, it's 2024, and we've got a castle in Few Orleans. So if you joined the live stream just after Christmas, you would have seen this built. Claire's castle, in fact. Big shout out to Claire, of course, and Edward for the lovely suggestion of naming this after her. So we've got Claire's castle over here, nicely positioned in between Arcadia over there and Lafayette over this side. And yeah, really like this addition, and the lovely little addition of a children's summer camp overlooking the garbage processing and sewage processing facilities down there. Maybe not the ideal location from a smell point of view, but at least down on the ground they get nice views and they can't see it from here. But we just put in 3 little simple campgrounds and some recreational things around it to try and create a little kind of summer camp up next to Claire's castle on the hillside over here. But for today, this is what we're focusing on. This very nicely, very heavily treed area that we've got over this side of the county. And we're going to be starting to create our 3rd little town on our map over here today. So I do just want to think about road connections initially. So we've got this road here which kind of goes to a dead end. We obviously have a highway running through, and those are kind of the main connections to think about. We also have this road up here which is running to a dead end, which would be nice to run along the coast and into the town. I think this one will bring under the bridge and into the town as well. We've got the rail, so definitely a train station in the middle here. But yeah, we'll want to have some intersections coming off this highway for sure. Now I'm thinking, because we've actually just got a kind of local 4-lane highway, not kind of main split highway down here, that actually we're just going to do some basic intersections crossing underneath this road. One on either side of the town, so I'm thinking one over this side and one here, which will bring them nicely in from either direction into the yet to be named town on the River Bend. So we've got 2 slightly off intersections in here. The landscape is pretty tricky to work with. So we don't have space for major intersections, but like in all honesty, I think they've kind of come out quite cute. Like I'm liking how they sit into this landscape actually, kind of dipping down here and there, the retaining walls working quite nicely where they need to in places, and also this cliff edge as well, adding a little bit of extra effect to it too. We've got some traffic lights, we've got some dedicated turning lanes, well, in this place, not over here so much because just the space it's not really required. We don't have a 3x1 small road, annoyingly. So yeah, it just doesn't really work there, but we have got dedicated turning lanes on most of it. Yeah, I'm kind of pleased with it. And this one over here, a little bit more rough. So we've actually split out these two exits here just so we could bring the rail line in underneath. But I think this works quite nicely because they'll just be able to flow up and onto the highway from this side. And again, sort of sits into the landscape kind of quite interestingly, I think. And we've also got the two local roads flowing in from this side and over here. I've also connected this junction in to get through to both sides of here. So we've got multiple ways to get into this town, which is super, super important for traffic flow. Like the traffic flow in this city is actually, if I just show you that quickly, pretty good. I kind of ignore this because 60% of the cities would have been awful, but we don't have traffic jams anywhere. We don't really have any like super duper red stuff. Like this is all busy, but if I press play, you can see the flow of it. Like there's nothing that's really backing up. So the traffic flow in general is really quite good. Like this should not even be red. There's hardly any cars using this. I don't think the infographic makes a huge amount of sense. But when you visually look around the city, there are no bottlenecks. It just, yeah, the traffic flows. So getting those multiple ways to get to different places is really the main reason for that. Local roads, highways, multiple of each, always a good idea. So let's talk about the plan. We're going to have quite a waterfront focused town. So the first thing I want to do is really get in this waterfront. I think we're going to go for keys. We're going to go for built up, I think, across most of this. Probably transitioning to a little bit of green space, maybe below the quay. Kind of park area below the quay, something like that. The pedestrian path down, bridge across. That's the type of thing I'm thinking, but I'm thinking mixed density commercial row housing, fairly built up for this town along the waterfront. So that's the first thing that I do want to do, is get in our waterfront quays, our bridges, and also plan out a little bit of the road network, because the train station is going to go in the middle here. So what I'd really like, and the terrain is pretty steep actually up to there, you kind of can't really see it until you come down to ground level, but it is quite steep along these banks. So I think we're going to have the waterfront relatively flat and then a steep slope up to our train station, sort of in the middle of the town, around the back of the town really. And we'll have the focal point being around this beautiful river bend. So yeah, let's start by getting in those keys and a bit of a road frame network, and then we'll come in and talk about zoning. Okay, so we've got the really, really finicky job done, at least. And I kind of decided to bring in this collector, kind of connecting it up basically through the centre. I was thinking maybe we'd run trams around here actually, maybe have a bit of a tram network going up and down the hill. Might be quite nice, I think. So I think we'll probably introduce that. I was thinking maybe like this could be a kind of central point for it along this main road. And we have got a bit of key on key action, or retaining wall on retaining wall action, if you like, here. Which I think will make for quite a nice kind of bustling waterfront in this area. So we'll focus probably on mixed use commercial, I think here. Maybe a little bit of high density commercial. We'll see how we go. Maybe the odd high density residential around the waterfront too, but just trying to not go too big or too high with those just yet. After all, it still will be a relatively small town. So let's actually build something, shall we? And let's start with the train station. So that's going to be a kind of central part of the town, as I mentioned, and I definitely want it, if we can see the terrain lines. Let's turn off that white. It's going to sit in this spot here. So this is really where we want to have it. I'm kind of thinking we'll probably have the main through, yeah, it probably should be at the back, shouldn't it? Like round about there. So we could actually just place it in over that track, can we? Yeah, because it connects itself in. I do wonder if it would be a better space saver to have it on the middle track though. So I'm thinking probably there. And I'm quite liking how this isn't aligned to the waterfront as well. Like, I think this is going to make for some kind of interesting road networks around this area. Of course, we do need to bring a road up to it. So we're going to need to manage this slope now. So I want to go from this position. Let's make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it a bit more easily amongst our trees that I was trying to get grown up. But let's create a slope up from this main road here, all the way running up to the train station. Okay, well that will do for now. So let's have this road, is what I'm thinking, is going to connect right up from this junction up to our train station. And I'm thinking kind of like quite off diagonal, coming right up to the centre of it would be nice. So let's go ahead and do that. Of course, we do need to have roads that are running alongside the train station as well to connect in those car parks. So that's okay. We'll put those in there. That should make for quite a nice little, actually it's a bit more gentle than I thought it was going to be, but a nice little slope up to there. Now we do also need to get across these railway tracks. So yeah, I want to create some industry in this area here. So we probably need to flatten out a small area. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll grab this height here and we'll flatten out a small area behind the train station here. Now if we bring that level up to here, actually it's about the same height as the railway there. That just shows how like undulating this terrain is. So let's go a bit higher. I don't know if that's going to look silly, that kind of slope behind the train station. I think it'll be alright. I think it'll be alright. I'm going to make some levels within the industrial area, so it won't all be just this one level, but just so we can see what we're kind of working with at this point. Because we do need to bring a road over this train track somehow to connect into this collector. Now we do actually need to connect in these rail lines, so let's do that before we put this bridge over so that we know that we've got enough room for it. Okay, there we go. We've got in the station. It's connected. We've got all of our rail connections in. We're just going for a very simple, compact kind of version of connecting in our rail lines here. So I think that will work well for what we're going for. But actually, we can bring this out in a nice slopey fashion. I'm wondering how humpy that'll be. And it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. So let's bring this down to surface height here. We'll probably try and line it up. Actually, let's turn on guidelines. Let's line it up with this road because then that can come straight out of here. And then what we'll do is go down and into our collector. So I'm thinking let's try and keep some straight grids in here because we want a bit of row housing and that's going to be easier to put in, of course, if we have some more sort of straighter roads in here. And now this section, we do just want to make sure that we have smoothed all of this landscape and not that one. It's not the one we want to use. We smooth all of this off now, we should get some much more nice gentle slopes in here and the roads won't be as dodgy when they go over them. So yeah, if we put this in, we can start to see that we're going to get this kind of grid pattern up the hill. So yeah, this is definitely what we want for this area. Now I'm going to put in a little bit and then we're going to stop because like I said in previous episodes, it is actually a hell of a lot easier to put in your zones or your roads around the zones when you do that as opposed to like kind of zoning in a big grid in this game. But we want to get a little bit of an essence of how it's going to look, so that will that'll do for now. Now up in this industrial area as well, there's a couple of large assets I do want to introduce. So let's make sure we've got a road that's nice. Let's turn off guidelines for this. We're not snapping into any unwanted guidelines there. And we'll bring out a road nice and straight like so. And that's going to be right on top of our cliff edge there, which I think will be quite nice. And now if we delete it, let's actually make sure we've got zoning cell length and the 90-degree angle on so that we create a really nice kind of grid pattern here for us to work with for the industrial area like that. Yeah, so we haven't got any broken grids up on this side. Now I do, like I said, want to introduce the bus depot because we desperately need one. So let's go ahead and add in one of those. I'm just going to place it in for now and we'll redesign that a little bit later into the episode so that we've got that in there. But we do also want a tram depot if we're going to bring them in, and that is a large asset, a very large asset indeed. So I'm thinking probably somewhere on the edge like this would be appropriate for that, and let's join up this road, so we'll make this a little bit longer. Then we're going to pack in a load of industry around that, but we'll come back to that because the other thing I do want to just have a little look at is a bridge over this road. So I'd really like quite a large bridge. I'm thinking somewhere in the middle of this waterfront area here. So if we come out of our collector road, we're going to go over our waterfront road, which will create a little bit of interest in the landscape as well. And let's turn off guidelines again for this. And we'll bring this up basically as far as it needs to go to get over this road. Let's go up to 25. So it's a 0.9% slope, so actually it's pretty unnoticeable, I would have thought. And from this point, we're going to convert into a nice bridge here. Now I want to make sure this is pretty flat across the water and we're at that 180-degree angle. So let's just adjust this down until we get a nice flat bridge in here. Like +1, plus 0.5, oh, minus 0.1. Now I want to leave a little space so we've kind of got the 3 pillars in the middle because that'll frame it nicely. I mean, that's virtually flat, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then we'll go back to our normal road and bring it across this side. Now again, we want to try and see what that flat angle is and how far that is off the ground. So we could actually, I think, go all the way to the ground here. That's only -3, 4 to get it to there. So let's go ahead and do that. Then we're left with a really nice little bridge. I think with the suspension kind of bridge in the background as well, that's going to create some nice little effects along our riverfront there. So yeah, I think that's going to be good. And then down here as well, I'd like to have another collector connection across our waterfront here. +0.8 is pretty good there. And then we just want to do a tiny bit of terraforming just to flatten out the land this side so that we can have this nicely on the ground. There we go. So we'll need to do a lot of landscaping work across this side to make this blend into the environment around it and make some sense. But for now, let's just leave that there. We'll concentrate on the other side, the main side of our waterfront for now. We could, of course, actually add a little archway bridge into here too. We've done this straight. I think that might be nice just to frame that waterfront. So let's actually, let's remove that and we'll go to our bridge. Just connect that straight across. So we have 2 lots of archways that's slightly off angles for our little riverside town. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Let's get some zoning in, and we're going to start with some mixed use along this waterfront right here. And I think I'm actually just going to kind of mass zone this in a little bit. So we're going to have some large ones definitely, I think, by this bridge area, which I think will look really nice. In fact, I might actually go for a fairly large block of high density housing this side, which I think could look quite nice. So we'll see how that goes. Let's press play so we can see what we're getting in. Now that, interestingly, has not zoned in how I want, which would suggest we can't get a zoning of that size in. So let's actually just remove part of it and see if we can get one. I'd really like it to be 6 deep, yeah, so it fills right up to that retaining wall at the back there, because I think that'd be quite a cool view as well from this road here. Just seeing into some of those windows and that sort of thing from this side. So we'll do that. Let's have a 6 by 6 block. Yes, that's gone in nicely. Can we have 3 by 6? Thinking probably not. No, it doesn't look like it. So let's go for another 4. In fact, we could go for 2 6 by 6s here. And then potentially a smaller one for this corner, because that concrete will extend up to the road bridge here. Yeah, you'll see we'll get a corner asset there, which I think will look quite nice. Then we can actually bring in some pathways and things like that behind it to create a bit of an area behind there too. This is not right. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to have some super big, bulky buildings along this waterfront. That is coming in very tall. So we might have to just keep a little eye on that, I think. Could we actually team this up with a little bit of kind of breaking up of zoning here? So let's go into grid. And of course we're getting that water warning now. So what we do want to do here, which is how I got in the road connections, is just flatten out the terrain like that. We turn off all snapping, or leave grid on because I want to make sure it's in that position. Then it will connect on without getting rid of our retaining wall. That's quite a nice little trick if you are struggling with that at all. And let's bring out a section in here. Now I'm wondering, we can fit in a little playground, and then I'm thinking maybe the tiny outdoor gym. Yes, exactly, in there. And this will then just come back to, oh, that's actually done it without the water warning, which is nice. Let's get rid of this bit of terrain here so we can't see that. And then we can do some smaller high density zoning behind here. So we'll do 2 3x3s like so. And then let's come in with a bit more mixed density this side. And then perhaps a smaller one, because we've got this kind of slopey bit that's transitioning away from the quay at the back, away from the retaining wall at the back. So a little bit of greenery in there I think would be nice. Why has that got a high rent warning and it's literally under construction? I have absolutely no idea how some of these warnings work in this game, I'll be honest, but there we go. So let's let these zone in. This one's struggling for road connection, interestingly. Let's actually delete out this road, then it won't think it's a corner, yeah, and we won't get a corner asset in there. That'll be a bit better. Then can we connect this one up? We can. I'm just pulling it back a little bit away from the road. So we're starting to see some zones now, and I'm seeing that this one is a little bit small compared to the buildings that are going to be next to it. So let's actually just increase this zone a little bit. Yeah, we'll get a larger building in there, which will hopefully be a little bit taller, a little bit more grander, I think, next to some of these big blocky monsters that we have over this side. Now I do also, while we wait for those to zone in, want to start introducing a little bit of row housing. So let's have a nice block of this here, and I don't mind about the difference in depths. That will give us some kind of different style of buildings, which will make it a little bit more interesting as well. So actually I used to kind of, yeah, mind if one did this, but I don't mind too much. And I'm actually going to cut away a couple of these just so that we get some of those different kind of faces to our buildings, which I think adds a little bit more interest to those row houses. But they do sit in sort of smaller blocks quite nicely along a little curved road like this, which I do enjoy as well. And we're going to just flatten out a bit more of this landscape here. We'll worry about the terrain and things and tidying that up after when we've got a little bit more zoning in. We do still have demand for medium density, so let's continue zoning these in. Again, varying up some of the depths of them so that we get some nice differences in those faces. We have got a 2 in there, which is maybe a little bit much, so let's change that back to a 3. There we go. So we can start to see what we're getting here. I'm quite happy with that height of building. That's a really nice one, actually. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. And I think from this road as well, it's going to be quite an interesting concept. Like I said, yeah, you can sort of see into the windows there, the little drop down. We have got some props down the back of this building as well, which very much into. Which we had a bit of surface painting to fill that in. We could always bring a path down there and try and kind of pretend that it's filled in. I think this is going to be good. I think this is going to be good. We've got the tall one in now, and actually it's not too bad. It's not too bad next to the mixed density zoning, so I think we can go to that size in a couple of different places and be quite kind of comfortable with that. And this one should hopefully be a little bit shorter than these big bulky ones, which will kind of bring down the height towards the row housing over this side. So I think that that will be okay. We do also want to bring in services, of course, as well. So let's go ahead and do that. We need to watch out for some of our awkward corners that we have on here as well. Like mixed density zoning is definitely the best thing to put into those because of the way the corner assets work, like this one you can see here. We're going to get a concrete surface right up to the pavement, even on the kind of, you know, a jaggedy corner like that. So if I put in a tiny bit of mixed density here, yeah, we'll get that corner asset because we've got 2 roads in and a lot of that will be filled in. We can also, as well, place bushes on this part of the concrete here. So it's quite a nice way to kind of detail it up. I definitely want to fill in, if I can, this little corner of green here, just to create a little bit of interest. And then let's bring in, I think, a police station behind here, although it is relatively bulky. Would a fire station fit? Yeah, we can fit a fire station right up next to our mixed density zoning there. So that's maybe a little bit better. It's quite small to be sitting behind these bulky buildings though, but I think it will add a little bit of character in there as well. Now let's bring in another strip of commercial, I think, here. And in fact, actually, let's drop this zone back just one so that we can fit in a road connection here. So let's snap that nicely into the middle and bring that out. We want to get up to this level here, really. So yeah, it's going to be quite a steep road, I think, but that's okay. And we're snapping into a guideline there that we don't want, so let's remove that. And yeah, we'll get this nice transition. If we actually delete this zoning now, yeah, we'll get that corner asset in again, which will bring the concrete right up to the pavement there, so that'll look a little bit better. Let's remove that tree from there. And we'll see how that kind of all fits in. I'm thinking maybe we change up one of these zones to be high density. So let's go and do that, high density residential, because that'll then just vary up the height a little bit more and give us a bit more interest in our kind of semi-skyline that we're fitting in here. That is quite tall, so I think let's just trim this back a little bit and see if we can get a slightly shorter asset. Yeah, that's kind of a similar height to that one, so I'm a bit more okay with that. And what was this one? That was a 2x4 asset, so let's maybe bring in another one of these over here, just to give a little bit more of a pop in height at a different location. If we bring a 2x2 in next to it, I think that will be even lower, and then we can bring in a nice big mixed use on this corner here. That's kind of the way that we're going to zone this all together. We want some bulk around this centre bit, especially running up to the train station. I think actually on this slope doing some row housing would be pretty cool. So let's go ahead and do some of this. I think I'll change the zoning at the top to kind of face the station. Let's just do a small block of it there. We have got one that's zoned in a little bit differently. Let's delete those. Yeah, we'll go for something like that. And let's continue this pattern in this gap as well. So I think we'll do blocks of 4. Yes, that'll fit in really nicely there. So yeah, we can do that. And then you can start to see the kind of effect of the different zoning lengths in the mixed row here. Like we just get these slightly different style of houses integrated. Well, they're all the same there because they're a bit shorter. But yeah, slightly different style of houses integrated into our little rows, which I like the look of. And they're going to upgrade slightly differently and all that kind of thing. So I think it will add a little bit of extra interest rather than just having these same fronted buildings across the whole row of houses. So I like that. And then I think we'll continue with a bit of mixed use over this side, just some smaller assets for it, because they're quite nice and bulky and they'll add a bit of height density behind our row houses here. Now the same thing's happened here where the zoning's on that road, so let's delete that out and then we can continue to zone in a little bit more. I think we'll mix in some row housing actually here, a little bit more zoning like this. And there we go, we'll have the mixed density on that corner again to kind of overcome that. Does this look a bit... that looks a bit bumpy there as well. I think that's okay out of a town, but inside a town, I'm much less keen on that. So let's slope that nicely. And then we can re-put in our road and it should look a lot better. We will want to go round and control some of this parking that we've got going on. We do also want to bring in some car parks, let's not forget that. So let's add one now. And I think we'll go for quite a big one, although we can't go too deep with it actually, so we're probably going to have to do a medium one in here. But let's drop that in, and then definitely amongst this waterfront here, I don't want the parking outside the mixed density. So let's have a nice grass. Let's have grass and tree actually. I think that will look good along the main waterfront. We could probably have a little bit of parking in certain places. I'm not opposed to that. But I think as a whole, grass and tree is going to be the way we want to go, particularly in front of those mixed use. I'm thinking maybe in front of the row housing as well. We could leave the parking on there, because I don't mind that too much. We definitely don't want it up roads like this. So what we could do instead of having really wide pavements is actually upgrade some of these to asymmetric roads, which will just take off the parking without having the need for wide pavements or grass or anything like that. So I do quite enjoy that technique. Also, I think on these roads, let's go for a grass median as well, at least along the main kind of centre point here, so we haven't got the parking along those roads. I don't mind it sort of further out. I don't mind it on the kind of side roads. We might want to go around and just widen one side of the pavement or have a grass line on one side of the pavement, but we'll have a look at that later once we've got it all built up. Here we go. We're starting to get a little picture here with some more of the high density here. I'm really liking the layers built up, actually. I usually go big on a waterfront and kind of build it away from that, but this is a nice effect. This is a nice effect, kind of building up from these lower row housing to the mixed density up to the high density residential. That's an incredibly ugly building, but it is what it is. But yeah, there we go. I'm quite enjoying that. A couple of little pops in high density height here and there, I think make a nice picture out of that. So we do have need of a hearse over here, so I'm just going to talk quickly about services before we go and fill in the rest of the town. Now, I quite like the cemetery on the outskirts, really, but I think this is going to cause us a bit of a headache in terms of the terrain, so this may be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and try and place it in here, and let's see what it does to our terrain. Actually, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. But yeah, I definitely want the cemetery on the outskirts, really. I think that's generally where you kind of find them. Obviously, I know that varies in various different places, but I feel like that makes a bit of sense. So let's bring out a road connection that's snapped to the side of the building here. We'll bring out a road connection in front of it. But before we do that, we do just need to do a little bit of terrain work here. So let's slope this bit down to our road over here, like that. And then let's slope the other side from here. Oh, the other wrong way around. Let's slope from this side up to our main road. And then we can kind of just use this as a bit of a cut through to the local road from the collector. Let's draw the road in front there. And then we'll just bring it, I think we'll bring it straight down actually. And then we'll just do a nice gentle curve up to the collector, so that comes in at a little bit more reasonable angle there. And then we can go ahead and sort out some of this terrain. Let's make quite a small brush size here, just tidy up that little bit around the edge of the key there. And we'll want to do some smoothing around our cemetery, but we've still got space to like zone around it. So we'll definitely have some low density housing out this way, sort of sitting in the suburbs over here, our big cemetery. But that gives us death care. We do also, of course, want healthcare in here too. And I think somewhere a bit more central would be better for this. So let's actually put this in behind the row housing over here. And we might be lucky enough that we get the extension on this side. We do. We just interfere with that house there, but that's all right. That would rezone. So that'll fit in nicely over this side. And of course, we're also left with education and police. So police, I'm actually thinking I might put on this corner here, which I think will be all right. It's a little bit sunken in next to the collector, but I think we can kind of blend that in a little bit and it's not too bad there. But then at least it's kind of easy access to get onto the other side of the river if they need, or like straight into the town centre, pretty much across the whole area. So I feel like that's a reasonable location for that too. And then education, like at the moment we have plenty of capacity for high school. We still only got the one high school, so I'm kind of reluctant to put in another one. But I think if we're going to grow this out reasonably big, like bigger than our other two towns around this area, we'll want a dedicated high school in it. So we will come back to that and we will do that. But for now, we're going to leave it for the moment. But let's definitely place in an elementary school, and we need quite a bit of flat land to get this in. So I really don't know where the best position for this actually is, unfortunately. Potentially on this corner here. Let's have a little look what it would look like there. It's just so big. It's so big. I don't feel like it needs to be this big or grand. Like, I actually prefer the vanilla elementary school from Cities 1, I'll be honest, which I actually think is quite a nice asset. So let's just push this terrain back a little bit around it, and then we'll try and smooth it off just to give it a bit more breathing room so it's not so enclosed by such high sides as it was previously. But I think that sits in all right. I like the fact that we've got this little bit of green, the other side of it. I think that works. I would like another car park really near it because I think that that is appropriate, but we could just bring in a very small one here. It doesn't need to be a big one. A secure car park, perhaps? It could be. I think maybe another road connection next to it might be useful here as well. So let's connect into the grid that we've got up there. Let's slope this. You can see how much the terrain actually slopes at this point. Like it's sort of quite it's quite deceiving, I think, the terrain on this map. Like at first you don't think it's too bad, and then you sort of take a closer look and it's like, oh yeah, it is very undulating. Very slopey in certain places, so it does make it tricky, but more of a challenge and more interesting actually, I think, to build on. Like it's much more interesting getting these layers of height in than just building on a purely flat land, so I'm enjoying that aspect for sure. So if we have that in there, could we maybe sneak in a car park behind it? If we had a road coming across like, oh god, not like that, not like that. Let's flatten this bit out, so we'll want it kind of that height. Yeah, let's flatten this out to the road. In fact, we'll actually slope that a little bit so it's nice and gentle. Let's get the road in here. That's a bit better. And then can we plot a car park onto this? Just so it kind of feels like it's part of the school, but not necessarily actually part of the school. That's what I'm sort of going for here. Let's smooth off the land around it. We don't really want a sunken car park surrounded by cliffs, I don't think, here. That seems a little bit overkill to me. So yeah, let's smooth that off. We could leave this as a bit of a park space actually behind the school, might be quite nice. Do some kind of nice path designs, that sort of thing around it. And of course we do have these extensions. I think we're just going to have to leave this one here because it's too much, but we could definitely bring in the playground behind it, which was sitting quite nicely next to the car park as well. Yeah, and then I think we will leave that as open park area for sure. Okay, so now let's continue on filling out our main town centre. Then we'll come back and talk about the transit routes as well as a name for our new town. So we have the start of our new town in, and before we take a little look around it, I just want to come on to names. You have given me so many suggestions over recent times, so we need to do the university and the surrounding area, the college as well, and also this one. So let's actually start over here, the original building that we put in, the college. And because it's on a cliff, and I absolutely love this name and totally agree with it, we're going to call this FewCliff College, which was a suggestion by Neil J. Roberts. I think a couple of others of you also mentioned it, but Neil was first, so I will give it to you. So we are going to call it FewCliff College. Love that. Thank you so much, Neil, and the others who suggested that as well. In terms of the university, there was really only one obvious choice, which several of you mentioned, but the first two to mention it were Jack Cullen and Michael Christopher, so thank you both to you. But because Louisiana State University is Tulane University, we're going to have a FewLane University in here. So yeah, just love that. I love the takes. I'm getting used to the takes on Few for sure. And because that is also in Baton Rouge, Spartacus Jones suggested we call the area Baton Fuge. So that's what we've got for here. There's a lot of Few going on today. Thank you so much, Spartacus Jones, for that, and for all of you, for all of your suggestions. Keep them coming for different names for places on this map. We still need to kind of name this service area, which is a little bit in between everywhere else as well. So if you've got any funny names for that as a district, let me know. And then coming back to the start of our new town. Now, because this is actually going to be the largest town that we've done, I think, so far, we're really going to extend it out, I think, on these other banks and definitely up the hillside as well. We're going to have more forest industry and ore mine right in the centre up here. And yeah, really kind of spread it out quite a bit. We're going to go with a parish name. I know a lot of you have been calling for that because of the kind of Louisiana, New Orleans theme that we've got going on here. And because I did ask for these suggestions around the Christmas time, and obviously me being FewCandy, a nice take on that is Candy Cane, suggested by James Atlas, thank you for that. But Robin Yoda the Lilac Bunny, you took it a little bit further and suggested Cane Parish, so I really like that. So that is going to be the name for our new town over here. And we'll probably have smaller districts within it. I want to look at district policies at some point as well, so we'll definitely be doing that. But yeah, that's going to be the start of our parish over here. Is going to be Cane Parish for sure. Thank you so much for that suggestion, Robin Yoda. Really appreciate it. And of course, like I mentioned, keep them coming. Now, I think we're going to look at transit in the next episode because I really need to do a major bus route overhaul. This has been quite a long build and a really large area that we filled out here today already, so we'll keep that for next episode. But let's just take a little look around. We're coming into autumn. I can see the colour changing to yellow. Yeah, there it is. The trees are coming in as they sort of gradually but suddenly changed to golden. All around the map. Our main kind of tree palette here is actually a bit more green, like the Arcadia tree palette, so we probably see a little bit less of that here, but there we go, we're in autumn. But yeah, the waterfront, really like how this is looking with all the little layers. Like if we come down to street level, the row houses on the bend here have worked really nicely. I'm less keen on this double blockiness of mixed density here. I may change this up a little bit to get some different size zonings in. So it just looks a little bit more interesting along the waterfront rather than this one giant block, but it does work well from this street point of view. Like really, yeah, I really like this. Really like the curves actually in the streets. It's just a shame we haven't got any extra detailing or surface paint to fill in some of those little grass gaps. We did put in a little custom, very rough, I need to fill in some of the gaps here, flower bed, and I don't know why some of the bushes have turned and not others, but there we go. Once that tree grows up, hopefully that will make a little bit more sense there. But yeah, really loving the slope up to the station at the top. Like, yeah, it's nice. It's nice with the row houses, have worked really well. We've filled out a lot of this with different row housing. There is a little bit of the terrain which I can't really get rid of, which is a tad annoying in the back here around this car park. But it kind of is what it is. We've still got a couple of high density or medium density housing building up in here, so we'll see what that looks like once that's all done. I did also place a couple of signature buildings which we unlocked from all of the row housing that we've put in here. We've got the mixed density one and also the row house North American signature buildings. Just slotted them into the little row of housing. I think works quite well there to add a bit more variation. And then we kind of transition out into some of the low density down here. I have inadvertently put row housing in here, which I had not realised before I started this review. So let's go ahead and replace that with what I'd actually meant to put in here, which is low density residential. But those should come in nicely now, and that will look a little bit more sensible around our highway exit there. Of course, I added in, squeezed in a little bit more row housing. We've done some pathways in between as well around the terrain, but yeah, just loving the kind of like the feel of the build up of the layers in this town. The bridge has come in super nicely as well over that waterfront road, but like particularly here, and actually in the autumn light it's looking quite nice as well. But yeah, you definitely feel that build up. There's a little view over to Lafayette over that side as well. Yeah, enjoying that, and of course we've transitioned over to low density out here too, but in a bit of an industrial area. I extended the bus depot, maybe a little bit overkill, but we've added 3 garages onto the back of it, just because I want to make sure we've got enough buses. I'm sick of running out, honestly, and we've got the space here to do that, so I've put that in with, yeah, a bit of industry, mixed in some office in here as well, like a couple of them in various different places. Oh, we've got 3 repeated assets there, but that is what it is. And then a bit more offices actually around the train station, so down here with a bit of commercial and that sort of thing. Again, repeated assets need a little bit of control in that area, but we can come on to that. But yeah, like just generally pleased with how it sort of turned out on the slope. I like the pops in height. You can imagine obviously when we build out this other side we'll have more high density and more mixed density over here, so it will feel quite built up around the centre. And then we'll extend that all around with the suburbs, add some sports parks and things like that that we haven't done as well. More farm fields around the edge, lots of nice things to come in Cane Parish. And then just finally checking out some of the views, like over from Lafayette here. Like if we come down this collector road, we'll come onto the highway, zoom down this way. I love this with the 3 kind of layers here, the highway road, the train, and then the local road, which definitely needs sorting out, so I will come onto that. I'll do that off camera. Then we get this little peeking view of the town over here, and the highway obviously being above it as well I quite enjoy, because you can sort of look down to it as you come on and round here. There's a little bit of industry smokestacks I'm actually enjoying just in front of the town, adds a bit of personality, adds a bit of character in there. So yeah, yeah, I'm surprisingly pleased with this. When I started it, I thought it was going to be a disaster, but actually, I think it's worked. So for today, that is going to be it. But if you have enjoyed the video, likes, comments and shares are really greatly appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We've just hit 30,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to all of you for your crazy support. I can't even describe how much I appreciate that, and it means the absolute world to me. But while you wait for new content, why not check out one of the videos on screen? But that is all from me for now. Bye bye.